The ivory envelope with silver embossing arrived on a crisp Saturday morning in Toronto. Emma Taylor held her Tim Hortons coffee in one hand while the other trembled, clutching that piece of paper that felt like it weighed a ton. You are invited to celebrate the union of Derek Morrison and Stephanie Chen. 3 years. 3 years she had wasted trying to be someone she wasn't. 3 years forcing smiles at Thanksgiving dinners, feigning excitement for wedding plans that strangled her, suppressing who she really was out of fear of disappointing her parents, friends, the entire Toronto social establishment that seemed carved from ice and unyielding expectations. He actually did this, Emma whispered to herself, reading her name handwritten on the envelope in that formal, perfect calligraphy. But he did. Derek hadn't just moved on quickly. He was deliberately rubbing salt in the wound. The venue was one of the most prestigious hotels in downtown Toronto, the same one where he'd promised they would marry someday. The date, exactly 6 months after their breakup. Emma dropped the invitation onto the granite counter of her small apartment in Queen West. After the split, she'd moved out of the condo she shared with Derek in Yorkville and rented this cozy one-bedroom place where she could finally breathe. The walls didn't judge her. The silence didn't demand explanations. Her phone buzzed. It was Liv, her best friend since their architecture school days at the University of Toronto. "Did you see it? Please tell me you saw this garbage." Emma smiled sadly. Liv had been the only person who truly supported her when she finally admitted the truth. First to herself, then to the world. "I'm a lesbian, Liv. I always have been. And I can't live this lie anymore." "I'm tossing it," Emma responded, already calling back. "Don't you dare!" Liv practically shouted from the other end. "You're going to that wedding. Have you lost it? Why? To be humiliated? To show you've moved on, girl. To walk in with your head high and prove you're infinitely better off without that jerk." Emma sighed, looking out the window at the street below. A couple walked hand in hand, laughing about something. Simple, light, authentic. "I don't know if I can live." "You can. And you're not going alone. I'm coming with you." The following 2 weeks passed in a fog of anxiety and second thoughts. Emma found herself picking up the invitation multiple times, nearly tearing it apart, but something stopped her. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was the need to close that chapter once and for all. On the wedding day, she chose a navy blue dress that highlighted her green eyes, understated but elegant. She pulled her auburn hair into a low chignon, applied subtle makeup. In the mirror, she saw a 28-year-old woman still carrying scars from recent battles, but who was trying. "You look stunning." Liv appeared in the doorway, gorgeous in a burgundy dress. "Ready to conquer?" "Ready to survive," Emma corrected with a weak smile. Traffic on the Gardner Expressway was heavy that Saturday afternoon. The Uber navigated between cars, while Emma watched the CN Tower piercing the sky, the characteristic energy of Canada's largest city. This was her territory, her city. So why did she feel so displaced? Have you ever felt that way? Like you don't belong in a place that should be yours? That sensation of wearing clothes that don't fit? Living a life designed for someone else? The hotel was everything Emma expected. Lavish, excessive, a clear statement of status. The ballroom on the 20th floor offered panoramic views of Lake Ontario, with floor-to-ceiling windows capturing the golden sunset reflecting off the water. "Breathe," Liv whispered, linking arms with her. "Head up." Emma nodded, and together they entered the already packed ballroom. She recognized familiar faces. Derek's friends, his colleagues from Bay Street, some people from the social circle they used to frequent. The stares came immediately, some curious, others surprised, many judgmental. "Emma!" The voice of Jennifer, Derek's sister, had that artificial tone of sympathy. "What a surprise you came." "Surprise. Right." Emma forced a polite smile. "Wouldn't miss it," she responded, trying to sound casual. "How brave," Jennifer continued, and Emma caught the poorly concealed sarcasm. "Did you come alone? I mean, without a male companion?" And so it began. The ceremony was brief. Emma stayed at the back, trying to be invisible, but she felt the weight of stares. Derek looked triumphant, flawless tuxedo, smug smile. When his eyes met Emma's, something cruel flickered in them. It wasn't just indifference, it was revenge. The reception transformed discomfort into torture. "I heard you moved to a rather modest apartment," commented one of Derek's colleagues during cocktail hour, with a condescending smile. "Queen West, right? Must be quite an adjustment after that Yorkville condo." Emma gripped her champagne flute tighter. "Actually, I'm very happy where I am." Of course. The man nodded, but his tone suggested otherwise. It was during dinner that everything collapsed. Derek requested the microphone for a toast. Emma felt her stomach drop. "I want to thank everyone for being here celebrating the happiest day of my life," he began, his voice echoing through the ballroom, especially because this day almost didn't happen. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. "I almost made the catastrophic mistake of marrying the wrong person. Someone who didn't know what they wanted, who lived a complete lie." His eyes locked onto Emma. "But thank God I discovered the truth in time. Discovered that some people simply aren't capable of real commitment. Not with a man, anyway." The ballroom fell into deathly silence. Every head turned toward Emma. "Derek!" Liv started to stand, furious. But Derek wasn't finished. "It's liberating, you know? Realizing you wasted 3 years, but at least didn't waste your entire life. Today I'm marrying a real woman who knows what she wants, who won't wake up one day and decide she prefers alternative lifestyles." The laughter started. Quiet at first, then louder. Whispered comments spread like wildfire. "I always knew something was off about her. Poor Derek. 3 years down the drain. She came here alone, how pathetic." Emma felt her cheeks burn, tears stung her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Not here. Not in front of these people. Let's go." Liv grabbed her arm, voice firm. Emma nodded, standing on unsteady legs. Each step toward the exit felt eternal. The whispers, the muffled laughter, everything pierced her skin like needles. She was 3 meters from the door when a voice sliced through the air like a blade. "Excuse me." The entire ballroom instantly silenced. Emma turned and froze. Walking toward her with firm, confident strides was a woman she recognized immediately, even though she'd never spoken to her personally. Everyone in Toronto knew Isabelle Laurent, or at least knew her reputation. Isabelle was 35 years old but seemed ageless. Dark hair cut in a sleek bob, piercing gray-blue eyes that seemed to see through people, olive skin contrasting with the impeccably tailored charcoal suit she wore. She was the CEO of Laurent Properties, a real estate empire that had reshaped Toronto's skyline over the past decades. Business magazines called her the steel magnate of Canadian real estate. Competitors feared her, partners respected her, and she was walking directly toward Emma. "Sorry I'm late, chérie," Isabelle said, voice smooth but loaded with authority, a hint of Quebecois accent coloring her words. Emma blinked, confused. "Chérie?" Before she could process what was happening, Isabelle cupped her face with both hands, with a tenderness that contrasted completely with her reputation, and kissed her. It wasn't a modest kiss. It was deep, passionate, declarative, the kind of kiss that left zero doubt for anyone in the ballroom about what it meant. When Isabelle finally pulled away, Emma was breathless, eyes wide, completely stunned. "Désolée, darling," Isabelle continued, as if nothing extraordinary had happened, turning to face the silent ballroom. "Meeting ran over. You know how the real estate market can be." Emma couldn't form words. Liv's mouth hung open. Isabelle wrapped an arm around Emma's waist, pulling her close in a possessive yet protective gesture, then fixed her icy eyes on Derek, who had gone pale as a ghost on the small stage. "Derek Morrison." Isabelle said his name like identifying something distasteful. "I must confess I was surprised by the invitation. Emma told me you two ended things months ago. I assumed you'd moved on. Follow our channel so you don't miss the next chapters of this story. And tell me in the comments, what city are you listening from? I want to know where our listeners are. What would you have done in Emma's position at that moment? Would you have run away or stayed to see what would happen?" Derek choked. Who are you?" Isabelle raised an eyebrow, amused. "You really don't know. Fascinating. Emma, your ex-fiancé, apparently doesn't follow the business news." Jennifer, Derek's sister, whispered something to a guest beside her. The name Isabelle Laurent began circulating through the ballroom like a cold wind. "I'm Isabelle Laurent," she finally responded, like announcing the weather. "And Emma is my girlfriend of 3 months. We've maintained discretion because we both value privacy, but I see you've forced our hand, Derek." Emma felt the room spin. 3 months? Girlfriend? She'd never seen Isabelle in her life, or had she? Something in the back of her mind whispered that maybe, just maybe, they'd crossed paths before. But where? "This is absurd," Derek stammered, but his voice came out weak. "She never mentioned—" "Why would she mention it?" Isabelle interrupted, voice now glacial. "You two have nothing to do with each other anymore. Actually, speaking of which, I've heard intriguing rumors about Morrison Development. Permit issues in the distillery district? Something about irregular documentation on the King West project?" Derek's face went from pale to crimson. "You can't—" "I can't what? Mention public information?" Isabelle smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Or would you prefer those details remain private? Because I can be très discreet, Derek, when it suits me." The silence was deafening. All the guests watched the scene like live theater. Isabelle turned to Emma, and for the first time her expression softened. "Shall we, darling? I believe we've fulfilled our social obligation. And I made reservations at that restaurant you've been wanting to try. Canoe has the best view of the city at sunset." Emma was still processing everything when Isabelle gently guided her toward the exit. Liv followed them, completely speechless. Only when they entered the private elevator, with the doors closing on the shocked ballroom, did Emma finally find her voice. What just happened?" Isabelle pressed the lobby button and then turned to Emma, leaning elegantly against the mirrored elevator wall. "I saved you from an unpleasant situation." "De rien." "But why? We don't even know each other." Something passed through Isabelle's eyes. Something profound, vulnerable, quickly hidden behind her mask of control. "Don't we?" she said softly. "Are you certain?" Emma frowned, examining that face. There was something familiar, something that triggered a hazy memory. "Architect Emma Taylor," Isabelle continued, "graduated from U of T 5 years ago. Specialized in sustainable residential architecture. Works at Chen & Partners for 3 years. Your last presentation was about integrating green spaces in high-rise developments." Emma felt a shiver. "How do you know all that?" "Because I was in the audience at that presentation." Isabelle smiled, and for the first time Emma saw something genuine in that smile. 6 months ago, you were nervous, but your passion for the work shone through every word. You talked about how buildings aren't just structures, but reflections of who we are. How architecture should embrace nature, not wage war against it. Emma remembered that day. It had been an important conference. Several investors and industry leaders from Toronto's real estate sector. She was terrified, but also thrilled about her integrated rooftop garden project. "You were there?" "Front row," Isabelle confirmed. "And afterward, I asked the organizer for your business card. Didn't have the courage to approach you personally. You seemed radiant. And I'm far better with contracts and negotiations than with words." The elevator reached the lobby with a gentle ping. The doors opened to the opulent foyer, but none of the 3 women moved. "So you've known about me for 6 months," Emma said slowly, processing, "and never spoke to me." "I'm many things, Emma," Isabelle responded, vulnerability still present in her eyes. "But brave in matters of the heart isn't one of them. Building skyscrapers? Simple. Negotiating multi-million-dollar deals? Routine. Talking to the woman who hasn't left my thoughts for 6 months? Terrifying." Liv finally found her voice. "This is insane. This is completely bonkers. This is romantic?" Isabelle suggested with a half smile. "I was going to say creepy," Liv replied, but there was a grin forming, but maybe romantically creepy. Emma was still stunned. "You kissed me." "We?" "In front of hundreds of people, 243 to be exact. And invented that we're girlfriends." "Technically, I didn't invent anything," Isabelle said, stepping out of the elevator and extending her hand to Emma. "Just anticipated a possibility. If you're interested, naturally." Emma looked at that extended hand. Strong, confident, but with a slight tremor that betrayed nervousness. She thought about Derek upstairs, humiliated after trying to humiliate her. Thought about the judgmental stares that in seconds transformed into shock and envy. Thought about how, for the first time in months, someone had stood up for her, defended her without asking anything in return. And she thought about that kiss, that impossible kiss that had made her heart race in a way 3 years with Derek never had. "You're crazy," Emma finally said. "Probable meant," Isabel agreed. "Will you have dinner with me anyway?" Emma looked at Liv, who shrugged with an enormous smile. "Go, girl. I think you deserve a decent ending to this night after that drama." Emma took a deep breath and placed her hand in Isabel's. "Okay, but you're going to explain everything. Every single detail. Everything," Isabel promised, and her fingers intertwined with Emma's with unsettling naturalness. "The evening is long, and I'm très bon at telling stories." As they left the hotel into the Toronto night, with the city lights twinkling around them like terrestrial stars, Emma looked back one last time. She didn't see the end of a chapter. She saw, for the first time in a long while, the beginning of something completely new and absolutely terrifying. Canoe was everything Emma expected from a fine dining establishment. Intimate ambiance, sophisticated decor, and a panoramic view of Toronto that transformed urban complexity into poetry. But she could barely focus on the surroundings. Her mind was still processing the events of the last hour. Isabel had graciously dismissed Liv with a promise to get Emma home safely, and now the two of them sat at a corner table, with privacy, but still exposed enough that Emma felt every curious glance from other diners. Isabel Laurent didn't go unnoticed anywhere. "Wine?" Isabel asked, already signaling the sommelier. "I need to be clear-headed for this conversation," Emma responded, but then reconsidered. "Actually, I need a glass, or 3. Isabel smiled. "Un compromis, then." "Sommelier, a bottle of the 2016 Niagara Chardonnay, please." While they waited, the silence between them was heavy with unspoken possibilities. Emma observed Isabel more carefully now, without the shock and adrenaline of earlier. She was truly beautiful in an intimidating way. Angular features, impeccable posture, that aura of someone accustomed to commanding entire boardrooms with just one word. "So," Emma finally said. 6 months. 6 months, 1 week, and 4 days, Isabel corrected. "Not that I'm counting. Does that make this less disturbing?" "Probablement pas," Isabel admitted, accepting the wine glass the sommelier served with discreet ceremony. "But it's the truth." Emma took a sip of wine, letting the crisp flavor roll on her tongue. "You said you were at my presentation about the vertical gardens." "I was. Your proposal was brilliant, by the way. Integration of green spaces on concrete facades using sustainable irrigation systems and native Ontario species adapted to urban climate. You spoke with such passion about how Toronto is suffocating under its own development, how we need to rethink our relationship with nature even in the most densely built areas." Emma blinked. "You memorized my presentation?" "Not intentionally." Isabel looked away toward the window, a small crack in her armor. "I simply cannot forget important things." "And my presentation was important?" "You were important." Isabel returned her eyes to Emma, and there was something raw in that look. "From the moment you stepped onto that stage, nervous but determined, with those reading glasses you adjusted 3 times during the presentation, because you fidget with them when you're anxious. From the moment you smiled talking about the native wildflowers you chose, specifically because they attract monarch butterflies, even in downtown Toronto. In that moment, you became important." Emma felt her face flush. No one had ever paid that much attention to her. Not even Derek in 3 years. "That's intense." "Je suis intense," Isabel said without apologizing. "At work, I'm called ruthless, cold, even merciless. People fear me, and usually I cultivate that. It's useful in business. Nobody tries to deceive me, nobody underestimates my capabilities. But it also means people don't get close. Not vraiment." She swirled her wine glass, watching the golden liquid dance. "When I saw you at that conference, you were everything I'm not. Warm, passionate, open. You talked about creating spaces where people could breathe, connect with nature, feel at home. And I realized I've spent the last 15 years building towers where nobody really lives. They just exist. Emma felt something tighten in her chest. You could have talked to me. And said what? Bonjour, I'm the feared real estate magnate and I'm fascinated by you. Isabel laughed without humor. I can barely manage casual conversations. Every interaction is a negotiation. Every word is strategy. But with you, I didn't want strategy. I wanted authenticity, and that terrified me. The server arrived with appetizers. Ontario burrata for Emma, Quebec duck confit for Isabel. But neither touched the food. So you spent 6 months watching me from afar? Emma asked, trying to process everything. Not watching, Isabel corrected, trying to gather courage. I obtained your card but never called. Looked you up on LinkedIn but never messaged. She hesitated, real vulnerability appearing. I even went to your office once, stood outside for 25 minutes. But when I saw you through the window, talking and laughing with your colleagues, so light and natural, I simply couldn't. I didn't want to be the person who would transform that smile into something calculated. Emma was astonished. This powerful woman, who commanded an empire, who had just humiliated Derek with a few sharp phrases, was confessing profound vulnerability. But today you had no problem kissing me in front of 200 people, Emma pointed out. Because you were being hurt, Isabel responded immediately, intensity returning to her voice. And I cannot stand idle when I witness injustice, especially not when it's directed at you. I saw that Salad going up on stage, saw the cruelty in his eyes, and something in me simply snapped. All caution, all careful planning. I only thought, no, not with her, jamais with her. So you invented that we're girlfriends. I offered une sortie, Isabel said softly, a way for you to leave that situation with dignity. And yes, perhaps it was also a selfish way to finally have the courage to talk to you. Sometimes we need a push to do what we should have done months ago. Emma took another sip of wine, larger this time. Her head was spinning, but not from alcohol. You realize this is completely insane, right? You don't really know me. I don't know you. That kiss was my first kiss with a woman in public. My first kiss with any woman since I admitted to myself who I am. Isabel became very quiet. Was it? It was, Emma confirmed, and felt tears burning. She breathed deeply, controlling them. I spent 3 years pretending. 3 years trying to convince myself it was acceptable, that this was what I should want, a traditional life, a heterosexual marriage, family approval. And when I finally had the courage to be honest, to end everything and admit who I really am, I was a coward about everything else. There's no cowardice in self-preservation, Isabel said gently. Isn't there? Emma laughed without humor. I didn't tell my entire family. Only my mom, and she asked me not to tell the rest, to avoid causing trouble, she said. As if who I love is a problem to be managed. I didn't come out publicly, didn't date anyone in these 6 months. Just existed. Worked. Went home, tried to figure out who I am when I'm not performing for anyone. She looked directly at Isabel. And then you appear. Kiss me in front of all those people, and suddenly I can't hide anymore. And I don't know whether to thank you or be angry. You can be angry, Isabel offered. I crossed boundaries, made assumptions, used you as an excuse to finally act on something I've been feeling for months. C'était égoïste. It was, Emma agreed. But it was also liberating. She let out a disbelieving laugh. God, that sounds pathetic. Needing a stranger to rescue me. I didn't rescue you, Isabel corrected firmly. You already rescued yourself when you left that relationship, when you chose your truth over others' approval. I just added drama to the situation because apparently I don't know how to do anything discreetly. Isabel finally picked up her fork, cutting a piece of duck. And for the record, I'm not completely a stranger. Now you know about my pathological inability to express feelings in a healthy way. That counts as personal knowledge. Emma laughed, a genuine laugh this time. You really are terrible at normal conversations. The worst, Isabel agreed, a small smile emerging. My last attempt at flirting was during a shareholders' meeting. Didn't end well. The woman requested a transfer to our Vancouver office. Okay, that's awful, Emma said. But she was smiling. Awful and vrai, Isabel admitted. Hence why I spent 6 months looking at your LinkedIn profile like an adolescent with a crush instead of just sending you a message like a functional adult. Emma observed Isabel for a long moment. The intimidating woman from the ballroom was revealing herself layer by layer, showing someone unexpectedly real beneath the corporate armor. Tell me something, Emma said eventually. What were you going to do after the kiss, after the dramatic declaration? What was the plan? Honnêtement? Isabel laughed, running her hand through her hair in a rare display of nervousness. There was no plan. I just knew I couldn't let you leave that ballroom destroyed. The rest I was improvising. When I invited you to dinner, half of me expected you to say no, tell me to get lost and never want to see me again. And the other half? Hoped you'd say yes, Isabel responded softly, and give me a chance to show I'm not just the steel magnate of the headlines. That I'm just Isabel. A 35-year-old woman who's terrible with feelings, too good at business, and who became completely fascinated by an architect with a radiant smile who talks about monarch butterflies in urban gardens like they're the most important thing in the world. Emma felt her heart accelerate. You really paid attention to every detail of that presentation. Every word, Isabel confirmed. The silence that fell between them now was different. Charged with possibility, with curiosity, with something dangerous and exciting. I don't know if I can do this, Emma finally said. Raw honesty. This relationship thing, I'm still figuring out who I am outside everyone's expectations. Still processing 3 years of emotional self-destruction. I'm a mess, Isabel. I build towers for a living, Isabel responded. Literally. That's what I do. I take chaotic spaces, problematic properties, damaged structures, and create something new. Messes don't scare me. Lies and pretenses scare me. What if I'm not ready for what you want? Then you're not, Isabel said simply. I'll wait, or I won't wait, and we'll go separate ways. But at least now we're having this conversation. At least now you know there's someone who saw you, Vrayment saw you, and wasn't scared. Someone who finds your vertical gardens fascinating, who wants to hear more about urban butterflies, who fidgets with their bracelet when nervous just like you fidget with your glasses. Emma looked down and realized she was, in fact, fidgeting with her glasses chain. She immediately dropped it. 6 months observing, she murmured. You're kind of a stalker. Completely a stalker, Isabel agreed shamelessly, but a respectful stalker. Never showed up at your work again, never followed you on social media, never tried to discover details of your life beyond what was public. Just kept the memory of that day and hoped l'univers would conspire again. The universe, or Derek being an idiot. Sometimes l'univers works through idiots, Isabel said philosophically, and Emma laughed genuinely. They finally began to eat, the tension softening into something more comfortable. Isabel talked about how she built her empire from scratch, starting at 20 with a risky loan and a vision to transform Toronto. Emma spoke about her passion for sustainable architecture, about how she grew up watching the city expand chaotically and dreamed of bringing more green to the concrete and glass. My family is traditional, Isabel eventually shared, looking at the wine. Quebecois, Catholic, conservative. When I came out as a lesbian at 18, mon père stopped talking to me for 2 years. Ma mère tried to send me to conversion therapy. Emma reached out without thinking, covering Isabel's hand on the table. I'm so sorry. Ne sois pas désolée. Isabel turned her hand, intertwining their fingers. It made me who I am. I learned early I'd be judged regardless, so better to be judged for something true than a lie. I channeled all that rejection into ambition. Proved to mon père I didn't need his approval to be successful. When he finally tried to reconnect 5 years later, I was wealthier than him. Did you reconcile? Plus ou moins? Isabel shrugged. We have a cordial relationship. We have dinner once a month, discuss business, carefully avoid any mention of my personal life. It's not ideal, but it's what we have. At least he came back, Emma said softly. My mom is still in the don't tell anyone phase. as if who I love is a contagious disease. She'll need time. Or she won't. Some people never overcome their own prejudices. Isabel squeezed Emma's hand. But you don't need to live in the shadows waiting for others' approval. I learned that the hard way. Emma looked at their intertwined hands on the table. Aren't you scared of being public about who you are? Terrified, Isabel admitted. Every day. But you know what's scarier? Looking in the mirror and seeing a stranger. Living an entire life, performing for an audience that will never vraiment know you. That's what's terrifying. The evening progressed with more wine, more conversations, more layers being carefully peeled away. Isabel talked about the loneliness of being at the top, how financial success didn't fill the void of never having someone who really knew her. Emma talked about the lost years, about how she sometimes woke up not knowing who she was without everyone's expectations. When they left the restaurant, it was past midnight. Toronto still pulsed around them. Streetcars passing, couples leaving clubs, the city that never completely slept. Can I drive you home? Isabel offered, indicating a sleek black Tesla parked with valet. You have a driver? Emma asked. I do, but I dismissed him for tonight, Isabel admitted. Wanted a few extra minutes with you. Egoist, I know. Selfish and honest, Emma corrected, getting in the car. The drive to Queen West was filled with soft music, classic Québécois chanson that Isabel confessed to loving, despite it not matching her public image. When they stopped in front of Emma's building, neither moved immediately. So, Emma finally said, what happens now? Whatever you want to happen, Isabel responded. I can disappear and let you process everything. I can send you discreet occasional messages. Or I can be embarrassingly obvious about wanting to get to know you better. Emma laughed. You don't do anything discreetly, do you? C'est un problème documented, Isabel agreed with a smile, but I can try. For you. Emma was quiet for a moment, looking at the building, thinking about her empty apartment upstairs, the lonely nights trying to figure out who she was. And then she thought about Isabel, with all her intensity and hidden vulnerability, offering something Emma didn't even know she needed. Call me tomorrow, she finally said. If you still want to, after a night to process that all this happened. I'll call, Isabel promised immediately, at 9 a.m. Or is that trop tôt? 9 is good, Emma agreed, smiling. And Isabel? Thank you. For today. For everything. It was insane. But it was also incredible. C'était mon honneur, Isabel said, and there was absolute sincerity in her voice. And Emma? Those vertical gardens? I want to hire you to design one for my next development. Legitimately. Not as an excuse to see you, but because your work is brilliant and deserves a bigger platform. Emma blinked, surprised. Are you serious? Compliment, Isabel confirmed. But we can discuss details later, when it's not loaded with all today's drama. Emma got out of the car, but before closing the door, she leaned back in. Isabel. That kiss. We? It was my best first kiss, Emma confessed, feeling her face heat up. So thank you for that too. Before Isabel could respond, Emma closed the door and hurried to the building, heart racing, a silly smile on her face that she couldn't control. Upstairs in her apartment, she threw herself on the couch and called Liv. You won't believe what just happened, she began. And for the first time in a long while, Emma fell asleep that night not thinking about the painful past, but about the future full of terrifying and wonderful possibilities. Emma's phone rang at exactly 9 a.m. on Sunday. She'd been awake for hours, having slept poorly, dreaming about unexpected kisses and gray-blue eyes that seemed to see through her. Bonjour. Isabel's voice sounded through the phone, warm but with a touch of hesitation. Sleep well? I'd be lying if I said yes, Emma admitted, settling better on the couch with a cup of coffee. You? Stayed awake until 4, replaying every word I said yesterday, wondering if I ruined everything. Isabel confessed. So, not very well. Emma smiled despite herself. At least we're two poorly rested people then. A solid foundation for any relationship, Isabel joked, and Emma could hear the smile in her voice. Listen, I know yesterday was intense, trop much probably. So I was thinking, how about something more normal today? More human? What do you consider normal? Coffee? A walk? Something where I don't dramatically kiss you in front of hundreds of people and invent an entire story about our imaginary relationship? Emma laughed. The bar is low then. Intentionally, Isabel admitted. So what do you think? Pas de pression. If you say no, I completely understand. Emma looked around her apartment. The white walls she still hadn't decorated, the functional but impersonal furniture, the space that felt more like a transition location than a home. She could stay there all day, processing, analyzing, hiding. Or she could take a step forward, however terrifying it was. High Park, she suggested. In an hour? Parfait, Isabel responded, and Emma could hear the relief. I'll meet you at the entrance on Bloor Street West. See you soon, Emma confirmed. An hour later, Emma stood near the specified gate, wearing jeans and a light sweater, the sunny Toronto Sunday promising a pleasant day. She saw Isabel approaching and almost didn't recognize her. The steel magnate had disappeared. In her place was a woman in black athletic leggings and a simple Lululemon hoodie, hair pulled back in a casual ponytail, sunglasses hiding her eyes. She looked 10 years younger, lighter, almost ordinary. Salute, Isabel said, stopping in front of her. I warned you I don't know how to do normal, non. You're wearing workout clothes, Emma observed. I wake up at 5 and run 10 kilometers every Sunday, Isabel confessed. C'est ma thérapie, but I figured you wouldn't want someone all sweaty on the first, whatever this is. So I ran, showered, and came. But I don't have many casual clothes. It's suits or athletic wear. My wardrobe is déprimant, Emma smiled. You run 10 kilometers every week? Helps clear my head, Isabel explained. The solitude of long-distance running and all that. Plus, if I don't exercise, I become a horrible person. More horrible than I already am in business. They started walking along the park path, passing families having picnics, cyclists, people practicing Tai Chi on the grass. High Park was full that sunny morning. A slice of nature in the middle of urban intensity. Merci for accepting, Isabel said, after a few minutes of comfortable silence, for giving me a chance to just be me. Not the CEO, not the woman who made that dramatic scene yesterday. Just Isabel. And who is just Isabel? Emma asked, genuinely curious. Isabel thought for a moment. Honnêtement? Still figuring it out? I've spent so much time building a persona, armor, that sometimes I don't know where the character ends and the real person begins. I know I like running at 5 in the morning. I know I read Quebecois poetry before bed. Emile Nelligan is my favorite. I know I cry at every dog movie, sans exception. I know I have a succulent plant in my apartment that's mysteriously been alive for 3 years, which I consider my greatest personal achievement. Emma laughed. You run a real estate empire, but you're proud of a succulent. Tu ne comprends pas, Isabel said seriously, but with humor in her eyes. This plant survived 3 apartment moves, 2 months of international travel, and my complete incompetence with living things. She's a warrior. I respect her. What's her name? Marguerite, Isabel responded without hesitation. You named your plant Marguerite? Emma was laughing openly now. It was ma grand-mère's name, Isabel defended. And she was equally resilient, lived until 94, smoked a pipe daily, drank caribou at breakfast, refused to die until she saw all her grandchildren graduate, pure stubbornness, like the plant. They sat on a bench near Grenadier Pond, watching ducks and geese competing for breadcrumbs some children were throwing. My grandmother was stubborn too, Emma shared. When she found out about me being a lesbian, she said, Emma, do you think I reached 80 without knowing that love is love? Go be happy and stop worrying about what others think. Emma smiled sadly. She died 2 years later. Sometimes I wish she was here to remind me of that. Isabel said nothing, just took Emma's hand and squeezed gently. Yesterday was the first time I came out publicly, Emma continued, looking at the pond. Showing affection for a woman in front of other people. And I don't know if it was liberating or terrifying. Maybe both. Just says how it is, Isabel said softly. My first public kiss with a woman was at 20, at a club in Montreal. I was terrified. It took a week before I could do it again. Took years until it was something natural. How did you do it? Emma asked, turning to look at her. That confidence, that certainty of who you are? Who said I have it? Isabel laughed without humor. Emma, I may seem confident, but it's performance. In business, I learned that projecting confidence is half the battle. But inside? She pointed to her chest. Inside, I'm still that 18-year-old girl mon père rejected. Ma mère tried to fix. I just learned not to let it paralyze me. She looked directly at Emma. And there are difficult days. Days I wake up and don't want to face the meetings, the stares, the whispered comments about the lesbian businesswoman. Days I wish I was just another person, without needing to carry a flag or prove anything. But then I remember, I'm not proving anything. I'm just living. And if my authentic existence bothers someone, the problem is theirs, not mine. Emma absorbed those words. It's easier said than done. Beaucoup plus easy. Isabel agreed. That's why therapy exists. I've been going for 10 years, twice a week religiously, because pretending to be strong all the time is épuisant. You go to therapy? Emma was surprised. Why the surprise? Isabel tilted her head. Think successful people don't have problems? Or don't need help? No, Emma hesitated. You just seem so in control of everything. Appearances deceive, Isabel said simply. I have anxiety, perfectionism issues, difficulty trusting people, fear of abandonment rooted in my parents' rejection. I work on it, actively, because I want to be a better person, not just a successful businesswoman. Emma felt something expand in her chest. Respect, admiration, maybe something deeper. Thank you for telling me that. Merci for listening, Isabel responded. Most people can't handle it when the mask falls. They prefer the edited version. They sat in silence for a moment, just watching life happen around them. Families, couples, friends, all living their ordinary Sundays, unaware of the small drama unfolding on that bench. Can I ask you something? Emma eventually said. Why did you go to the wedding? How did you know I'd be there? Isabel hesitated, a guilty expression crossing her face. Remember I mentioned I asked the conference organizer for your card? Yes. I kind of kept in touch with him. Casually. And he knows people who know Derek. And when I found out about the wedding, and that you'd been invited, Isabel grimaced. I know how it sounds. Maximum stalker level, but something bothered me. The timing. The cruelty of inviting you. So I obtained an invitation. Wasn't planning to show up, just wanted to be nearby. Okao you needed. Emma should be scared. Should feel violated. Stalked. But all she felt was touched. You got an invitation to my ex's wedding just to be there in case I needed help? When you put it that way, it sounds troubling, Isabel admitted. It is troubling, Emma agreed. But it's also, no one's ever done something like that for me. No one's ever just shown up. I showed up assez dramatically, Isabel pointed out. You showed up, Emma corrected, turning completely to face her. When I needed it. And that means something. They stared at each other, and Emma saw real vulnerability in Isabel's eyes, fear of rejection, cautious hope, desire mixed with uncertainty. I don't know what I'm doing, Emma confessed. I have no idea how relationships between women work. Don't know if I'm ready for any kind of relationship. Still rebuilding my life after years living a lie. Said okay. Isabel said softly. I can wait. Or we can just be friends. Get to know each other sans pression, sans expectations. You kissed me yesterday, Emma pointed out. Une erreur tactique, Isabel admitted. Made with the best intentions but terrible execution. I can be more patient now, can do this at your pace. Emma studied her face, looking for signs of falseness, manipulation. But all she saw was raw sincerity, vulnerability that Isabel clearly didn't demonstrate easily. Okay, she finally said. Friends first. Getting to know each other. See what happens. Amy's, Isabel repeated, like making an oath. I can do that. Probablement, maybe. You're terrible at being casual about your emotions, Emma observed with a smile. La pire, Isabel agreed cheerfully. But I'll try. Pour toi. They spent the rest of the morning walking through the park. talking about everything and nothing. Isabel told absurd stories of corporate meetings gone wrong. Emma talked about her favorite architectural projects, her vision for a greener Toronto. They shared opinions about movies, both loved Canadian independent films. Music, Isabel preferred classic Québécois chansons. Emma was more into contemporary indie. Food, they agreed the best poutine was from Smokes. It was normal. Surprisingly, wonderfully normal. When they said goodbye near noon, Isabel hesitated. "Can I see you again? This week?" "I'd like that," Emma admitted. "But let's go slow, okay? No dramatic kisses or public declarations. Just conversations. Getting to know each other, vraiment." "Slow," Isabel promised. "I can do slow." A pause. "That's a lie. I'm horrible at doing anything slow, but I'll try très hard." Emma laughed and impulsively leaned in and kissed Isabel's cheek. A quick, chaste kiss, but meaningful. To practice patience, Isabel stood there, a hand rising to touch where Emma's lips had been, a goofy smile lighting up her face. "D'accord. That was unfair. Now I'm going to think about that all week." "Good," Emma said with a mischievous smile she didn't know she possessed. "See you during the week, then." As she walked back home, Emma pulled out her phone and saw dozens of messages from Leave, all variations of "tell me everything now." She smiled and typed back, "Lunch tomorrow. I have stories." Her phone rang immediately. "You can't leave me dying of curiosity for a whole day." "I can and will," Emma laughed. "But I'll tell you one thing. I think I'm getting to know someone really special. And terrifying. And wonderful. All at the same time." "Did she kiss you again?" Liv asked, excitement obvious. "No," Emma responded. And somehow that was better. That night, Emma didn't dream about the past. She dreamed about vertical gardens climbing CN Tower, monarch butterflies flying through downtown, gray-blue eyes that saw not who she pretended to be, but who she really was. And for the first time in a long while, she woke up with a smile. The week that followed was a strange mix of normalcy and growing intensity. Isabel kept her promise to go slow, or at least her version of slow, which included daily good morning texts in French, casual lunches at elegant restaurants, and an impressive ability to coincidentally appear at the same coffee shop Emma frequented. "You work 3 kilometers from here," Emma pointed out on a Tuesday, finding Isabel in line at her favorite coffee shop in the annex. "Gia meeting nearby," Isabel responded innocently, too innocently. "Your meeting is in 4 hours, Emma said, trying not to smile. "I saw it on your calendar, that you sent me, sans me asking." "I was being transparent," Isabel defended. "You said to go slow, and I interpreted that as total transparency about my intentions, which definitely include trying to spend as much time as possible in your presence without being creepy about it." "You're being creepy about it," Emma informed her. "But in an adorable way?" Isabel asked hopefully. Emma sighed, but took Isabel's hand. "Yes, in a strangely adorable way. Now come on, let's get coffee before you confess you also know my blood type." "Oh, positive," Isabel murmured. "I was joking," Emma exclaimed. "It was on your university health form, which is public record. I just saw it. Accidentally, while researching your academic work, which is excellent d'ailleurs." Emma shook her head but was laughing. "You're impossible." "But you like me quand même," Isabel said, not as a question, but as vulnerable hope. "Still deciding," Emma lied, because the truth was yes, she was liking her, more and more, and that scared her. It was on Thursday that everything got complicated. Emma was at the office, reviewing plans for a commercial project, when her phone rang. Unknown number. She normally ignored these, but something made her answer. "Emma." The voice was familiar and unwanted. "It's Derek." She almost hung up immediately. "What do you want?" "We need to talk," he said, tone serious, "about the scene your friend made at my wedding." "We have nothing to talk about," Emma responded coldly, "and she's not my friend. She's my girlfriend." The words came out before she could think, and Emma realized that somewhere in the last week they'd become true. They hadn't put labels on it yet, but that's what Isabel was. Her girlfriend. Oh, so it's true then? Derek laughed, but without humor. You two are vehement together? Or was it just an act to humiliate me? It's not about you, Derek, Emma said tiredly. It never was about you. It's about me, finally being honest about who I am. You used me, Derek accused. 3 years, Emma. 3 years pretending everything was fine. That you loved me, that you wanted a future with me. While the whole time you were... He stopped, unable to finish the sentence. Emma felt guilt tighten her chest. He wasn't completely wrong. You're right. I did use you in a way. Not intentionally, but I did. I was trying to be someone I'm not, and in the process, I hurt you. And for that, I'm genuinely sorry. He was quiet on the other end of the line. Do you really mean it? Yes, Emma said honestly. You didn't deserve to be part of my confusion. Didn't deserve me wasting your time while I tried to figure out my own identity. But Derek, you hurt me too. What you did at your wedding, the way you publicly exposed me, the cruelty of it all. I was angry, he admitted, voice lower now. You left me looking like an idiot. Everyone thinking there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't man enough to keep you. It had nothing to do with you not being enough, Emma said firmly. It had to do with me not being heterosexual. And that's not your fault, just as it's not mine. Derek sighed heavily. My family is asking questions. About Isabelle Laurent being at the wedding. About you two. My father knows her father. It's becoming a chose. And you're calling me why? To ask me to pretend it doesn't exist? To go back in the closet so I don't cause problems for your family? No, he said quickly. No. I just wanted to hear from you, if it's real. If that woman really means something to you, or if it was just a way to get back at me. Emma thought about Isabel. The good morning messages, the stolen lunches, the way she vehement listened when Emma talked about her projects, the vulnerability Isabel demonstrated despite her reputation for being impenetrable. It's real, she said softly. Or it's becoming real. We're getting to know each other. And yes, she's important to me. Another silence. Then, you sound happy. On the phone. Happier than I've heard you in a long time. Emma felt tears prick. I'm trying to be. For the first time in a long while. Then I guess it's okay, Derek said, voice choked. I'm still processing everything. Still hurt. But if you're happy, I can try to make peace with that. Thank you, Emma whispered. And Derek, I really hope you're happy too. With Stephanie. That you two have what we never could. Me too, he replied. Take care of her, Emma. That Isabel. She seems intense. Emma laughed despite the tears. She is. Intensely everything. But she's also special. When they hung up, Emma felt like a weight had been lifted. Not completely. There was still pain, guilt, regret for lost time. But there was also closure. Or at least the beginning of it. She texted Isabel. Need to see you. Are you free for dinner? The response came in seconds. Je vais cancel anything. Where and when? They met at a small, discreet restaurant in Kensington Market, away from the corporate spotlight. Isabel arrived in 5 minutes, worry stamped on her face. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? She asked immediately, sliding into the chair across from Emma. Are you okay? Emma told her about Derek's call, every word, every emotion. Isabel listened in silence, holding Emma's hand across the table. How are you feeling? Isabel asked when Emma finished. Relieved? Guilty? Confused? Emma listed. All at the same time. He's right to be hurt. I wasted years of his life, and years of yours, Isabel pointed out gently. Don't minimize that. You hurt him, but you also hurt yourself. Forced yourself to be something you weren't for years. That's valid, Aussie. I called you my girlfriend, Emma confessed suddenly. On the phone. Didn't even think. It just came out. Isabel became very quiet, and... Is that what you want? For me to be? Emma looked at those gray-blue eyes, saw vulnerability and hope, fear and desire, all mixed together. I know we said slow. I know we're still getting to know each other. But yes, I think I want that. If you want it, Aussie. If I want it? Isabel repeated, incredulity in her voice. Emma, I spent 6 months thinking about you. An entire week trying not to be scary while clearly being completely scary. I want this more than any deal I've ever closed. But Sulman, if you're sure, Sulman, if you're vraiment ready. I don't know if I'm ready, Emma admitted honestly. Probably not. I'm still figuring out who I am, still carrying baggage, still have days I wake up terrified about coming out completely. But she squeezed Isabel's hand. I want to try. Want to figure it out with you, if you're willing to have patience with my mess. Your mess is my mess maintenance, Isabel said simply. That's the good part of relationships, no? Sharing the messes. Emma felt something settle in her chest. So it's official? We're doing this? If by this you mean trying to build something real, honest, and scary, but wonderful, then we, Isabel confirmed, we're doing this. They smiled at each other, and in that moment, in the small restaurant in Kensington Market, something fundamentally changed. They were no longer two people pretending caution. They were two people choosing, actively, to dive in together. My family is going to have a heart attack, Emma said eventually, when I tell them about you. My family already had a heart attack, recovered, and now just pretends my personal life doesn't exist, Isabel offered. So at least yours has potential for evolution? Deafening optimism, Emma observed. C'est ma spécialité, Isabel smiled, along with zero patience and inappropriate emotional intensity. And scary stalker attention, Emma added. Transparency, Isabel corrected. I prefer to call it proactive transparency. You show up at my coffee shop for no reason, Emma pointed out. Genuine interest, Isabel defended. And the coffee there is objectivement superior. You memorized my entire presentation from 6 months ago. Attention to detail, très valued in the corporate world. Emma shook her head, laughing. You're impossible. But I'm your impossible maintenance, Isabel said. And there was something so true, so vulnerable in that statement, that Emma felt tears burn. Yes, she agreed softly. You are. They had dinner, talked about plans. Isabel had that serious project about hiring Emma for the vertical gardens. Emma confessed she was considering opening her own office, specializing completely in sustainable architecture. Dreams were shared, fears were admitted, possible futures were timidly imagined. When Isabel drove Emma home that night, she stopped in front of the building, but neither got out of the car immediately. Can I kiss you? Isabel asked softly. Pour real this time, not dramatically in front of hundreds of people. Just nous deux. Emma nodded, heart racing. The kiss was different from the first. Slower, softer, but somehow deeper. It had no audience, no performance. It was just the two of them, choosing that moment, that connection. When they separated, both were breathless. That was... Emma began. Meilleur, Isabel finished. Definitely better. Much better. Emma agreed, smiling. Can I see you tomorrow? You can see me tous les jours if you want, Isabel responded. But I'll try not to be scary about it. You failed, Emma informed her, but she was smiling. Good night, Isabel. Bonne nuit, Emma. Emma floated to her apartment, called Liv despite the hour, and spent an hour retelling everything. You're happy, Liv observed at the end. Genuinely happy. I can hear it in your voice. I am, Emma admitted, surprised by the simplicity of that truth, scared too. But yes, happy. Then go with it, girl. You deserve it. As Emma prepared for bed, her phone vibrated. A message from Isabel. Still thinking about that kiss. Definitely not going to sleep. Merci beaucoup. Emma smiled at the screen and responded. Me too, and you just used an emoji. Your public image is ruined. You're ruining my public image in Plusier's ways. I don't care un bit. A heart. Isabel had sent a heart emoji. Emma held the phone against her chest and thought that maybe, just maybe, rebuilding her life wasn't so scary when you had someone willing to hold your hands during the process. 3 months passed in a whirlwind of stolen lunches, long dinners, park walks, and constant messages. Emma and Isabel had found a rhythm. Not perfect, but theirs. Isabel was still intensely attentive in ways that bordered on absurd. She'd shown up at Emma's office with a miniature vertical garden, juiced because I thought of you. Emma was learning to lower her defenses, to trust that vulnerability didn't mean weakness, but reality had a way of eventually collecting its price. The photo appeared on a Monday morning. A Toronto lifestyle magazine had gotten an image of Isabel and Emma kissing outside a restaurant. The headline, "Lesbian magnate Isabelle Laurent confirms dating unknown architect." Emma saw it first because Liv sent it to her at 7 a.m. with dozens of exclamation points. "Merde," Emma whispered, sitting in bed, looking at the photo. It was a beautiful image, honestly. They were smiling, clearly happy, the restaurant light creating an almost romantic aura. But it was also public. Undeniably public. Her phone rang. "Isabel." "Did you see it?" Her voice was controlled, but Emma knew her well enough now to detect the underlying tension. "I saw it. How are you?" "Processing," Isabel admitted. "This is past the first time I've been photographed, but it's the first time with someone I vraiment care about. And I don't want this to hurt you." "How will your shareholders react?" Emma asked, real concern in her voice. "Some will be uncomfortable, others won't care. C'est just another day at the office." Isabel tried to sound casual but failed. "But Emma, et toi? How are you avec this?" Emma looked at the photo again. Two women, clearly in love, captured in a private moment now exposed to the world. "Scared," she admitted. "My family will see this. Everyone will see this. Inya, no going back, no more pretending. It's real now. Publicly real." "We can deny it," Isabel offered immediately. "Say it's just a photo prise out of context. That we're just friends. I can have mon équipe de relations publiques." "No," Emma interrupted her. "No. I've spent trop many years living lies. I'm not starting again. Especially not about you." She could hear Isabel breathe in relief. "Tu es sûre?" "No." Emma laughed, but it was honest. "I'm terrified, but I'm also tired of hiding, tired of being ashamed of qui I love. And She stopped, heart racing with what she was about to say. "I love you, Isabel, and I'm not going to deny that poor anyone's comfort." Absolute silence from the other side. Then, in a choked voice, Tu viens de dire that I love you," Emma confirmed, feeling tears in her eyes. "Yes, I said it, and I'll say it again. I love you. Your impossible intensity, your stalker attention, your horrible way of demonstrating emotions, your inappropriate emojis, everything. Je t'aime. Je t'aime aussi." Isabel responded immediately, voice completely broken now. "I've loved you depuis so long, since that presentation, depuis forever. I love you so much it's scary and wonderful, and I don't know what to do with it all." They were both crying now, laughing through tears, a complete emotional chaos through the phone. "Come here," Emma said. "Maintenant. I need to see you." "Already dans la voiture," Isabel responded. "I'll be there in 6 minutes." It was more like 8 minutes when Emma opened the door and Isabel was there, still in her workout clothes from her morning run, hair messy, mascara slightly smudged from tears. They looked at each other for a second, before Emma pulled her inside and kissed her with all the intensity she'd been storing. The kiss was urgent, desperate, full of all the je t'aimes they hadn't said before. When they finally separated, both were breathless. "Alors," Isabel said, resting her forehead against Emma's. "We said it. Les grands mots." "The big words," Emma agreed. "And now the whole world knows." "Pas everyone," Isabel pointed out. "Just people who read lifestyle magazines. And, well, d'accord. That probably means basically everyone in Toronto." Emma laughed, despite everything. "My mum's going to call. It's going to be horrible." "Do you want me to rest her when she calls?" "You would?" Emma asked, surprised. "Emma, I'd face un peloton d'exécution for you at this point," Isabel said seriously. "A difficult conversation avec ta mère doesn't scare me. Well, it scares me un peu. But I'll do it quand même." Emma's phone rang. She and Isabel looked at each other. "C'est elle," Emma whispered, looking at the screen. "Answer it," Isabel encouraged, taking her hand. "Just was here," Emma answered with trembling hands. "Hi, Mom. Emma Taylor." Her mother's voice was icy. "Can you explain to me why I just saw a photo of you kissing another woman on the internet? Everyone is sending it to me. Everyone is commenting." Emma squeezed Isabel's hand. "Mom, this is Isabel. We've been dating. For 3 months. 3 months," her mother repeated, voice rising. "And you didn't think it was important to mention? Let your family find out through a magazine? I was going to tell you," Emma said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Was waiting for the right time, but someone photographed us and now everyone knows. Your cousins, your aunts, the church ladies. Everyone saw my daughter." She stopped, unable to finish. "Your daughter what, Mom?" Emma felt anger starting to overtake fear. "Your daughter being happy? Your daughter finally being honest about who she is? Your daughter loving someone? You don't understand," her mother said, voice breaking. "People will talk, will judge you, will make your life difficult." "People already talk, Mom," Emma responded. "Already judge. The difference is now I'm living my truth instead of their lie, and if that makes my life harder, at least it's my life, not a performance to please anyone." Silence from the other side, then softer. "Do you really love her, this Isabel?" Emma looked at Isabel, who was beside her, supporting her even through the difficult conversation. "Yes, Mom. I really love her. She's everything. And I know you're disappointed that this isn't what you imagined for me, but it's who I am, always have been. And I can't pretend otherwise anymore." Her mother sighed heavily. "I need time to process this, to understand." "That's okay," Emma said, tears flowing freely now. "I understand. But Mom, I'm still your daughter. Still the same person. Just finally being honest about who I've always been." "I know," her mother said softly, and there was something breaking in her voice too. "I know, love. I just need time." When they hung up, Emma collapsed on the couch, emotionally exhausted. Isabel sat beside her, pulling her into a tight embrace. "Tu es amazing," Isabel whispered against her hair. "See strong, see honest." "I don't feel strong," Emma admitted. "I feel épuisée. Strength and exhaustion aren't mutually exclusive," Isabel pointed out. "You can be both. And you were incroyable. They stayed like that for a long time, just holding each other." Then Emma's phone vibrated, and vibrated again, and kept vibrating. "Liv," Emma read the messages. "Wanting to know if I need someone killed." "Discreetly," Ella adds. Isabel laughed. "Jame your friend." More messages started arriving, some from work colleagues, sending support. Some from acquaintances, curious. And then, surprisingly, a message from Derek. "Saw the photo. You two look beautiful ensemble. Good luck with everything." Emma showed Isabel, who read with a surprised expression. "Huh. Maybe your ex isn't complacement terrible." "He's trying," Emma defended. "Say what matters." The rest of the day was a roller coaster. Emma's office called, her boss wanting to discuss la situation. Emma went to the office, Isabel offering to come along, but Emma insisting she needed to do this alone. The conversation was surprisingly positive. Her boss, a 60-year-old man Emma always assumed was conservative, simply said, "Emma, your work is excellent. Who you love doesn't change that. Some clients might be difficult. Are you prepared for that?" "I am," Emma responded, more confident than she felt. "And if any client a un problème with who I am, maybe they're not a client we want," he smiled. "Parfait answer. Now tell me about these vertical gardens. J'ai heard you're developing a revolutionary proposal." Emma blinked. "Comment did you know about that? Isabelle Laurent called me personally 3 times last week," he revealed with a smile. "She's très persistent, and clearly very invested in your success. Elle wants to hire you directly for a project of hers, but wanted to make sure we wouldn't be upset so you started taking independent work." Elle did that?" Emma was stunned. She did. Et between us? He leaned in conspiratorially. Prends the project. It's an incredible opportunity, and Laurent Properties has a reputation for paying très well. When Emma left the office, she was floating. She called Isabelle immediately. You called my boss? She asked sans preamble. I may have made quelques phone calls, Isabelle admitted. Wanted to make sure your work wouldn't be affected par la situation. Was I way hors de ligne? You were completely out of line, Emma confirmed. And also incredibly sweet and thoughtful, and I love you encore more for it, even though it's objectivement inappropriate. So you're pas mad? Isabelle asked, hopeful. I'm légèrement irritated and completely in love, Emma responded. Both peuvent be true simultaneously. Je peux live with that, Isabelle decided. Dinner ce soir? To celebrate you being amazing and also for me to apologize for being excessive? Oui, to dinner. Non to the apology. You don't need to apologize pour caring. That night, having dinner at a discreet restaurant, Isabelle presented Emma with a folder. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Emma asked. Formal project proposal, Isabelle explained. I'm building un complexe résidentiel in the distillery district. 15 floors, mixed units. And I want every facade to be a vertical garden. Want it to be un point de repère of sustainable architecture at Toronto. And I want you to design everything. Emma opened the folder, eyes widening at the numbers. Isabelle, this is... Juste. Isabelle interrupted. It's what you're worth. What your work is worth. And avant you ask, non, it's not nepotism or special treatment parce que we're dating. It's because I saw your portfolio, saw your ideas, and I know you're the best person pour this job. I can separate business from personal life. D'habitude. Emma looked from the proposal to Isabelle, tears in her eyes again. To really believe in me, always have, Isabelle said simply. Depuis that presentation 6 months ago, you have vision, passion, talent, just needed opportunity, et resources. I can provide the resources. La vision is all yours. I accept, Emma said sans hesitation, and not just parce que I love you, but because you're right. I'm good at this, and it's time to prove it. They toasted with wine, smiling at each other, and Emma thought about how her life had changed in just a few months. From a woman hiding, pretending, wasting years in a lie, to someone living authentically, loving openly, pursuing dreams she was always afraid to admit. It wasn't easy. Her mother was still processing. Some family members had stopped talking to her. Malicious comments occasionally appeared on social media. But there was also Liv, supporting inconditionalment, Derek, surprisingly, sending occasional supportive messages. Work colleagues who revealed themselves to be allies. And Isabelle, always Isabelle, intensely present, scarily attentive, unconditionally hers. A quoi are you thinking? Isabelle asked, watching her. That 6 months ago I was trapped dans a relationship that suffocated me, Emma responded honestly, pretending to be someone I wasn't. And now I'm here, avec you, being more myself than I've ever been. Still scared, but also libre, finally free. And happy? Isabelle asked softly. And happy, Emma confirmed. So happy. They finished dinner, walked main dans la main through Toronto streets. The city lit up around them, pulsing with life. Some people stared, some recognized Isabelle, but neither of them cared anymore, because some things were more important than others' judgments. Some things were worth facing storms for. And love, amour real, honest, vulnerable, was definitely one of them. That night, Dan's Emma's apartment, curled up together on the couch watching some movie neither was paying attention to, Isabelle whispered, Merci, pour what? Emma asked, turning to look at her. For letting me in. Pour giving me a chance despite me being un stalker effrayant. For loving me, malgré all my intensities and inadequacies. For choosing me. Emma kissed her softly. You made it easy. When you showed up at that wedding, when you defended me, when you saw me, vraiment saw me, something in me recognized something in you, and I knew, même without admitting it then, that you would be important, peut-être the most important person. I intend to spend un très long time proving you were right, Isabelle promised. I'm counting on it. Emma responded, smiling. And while Toronto slept dehors, two women who had found each other dance the most unlikely way held each other, building something new sur foundations of truth, vulnerability, and love. It wasn't perfect. There were encore challenges ahead. But it was real. It was theirs. And it was more than enough. 2 years later, Emma stood at the launch of the Distillery Green Complex, the project she designed Poor Isabel. 15 floors of sustainable apartments, each facade covered with lush vertical gardens, monarch butterflies already making nests parmi the native wildflowers. Isabel stood à côté her, smiling proudly while journalists photographed and architects admired. Emma's mother was usy there, a relationship encore under construction, but slowly improving. It had taken her 2 years, but she eventually called, asking to properly meet Isabel. Maintenant, they had monthly dinners where her mother asked awkward mais sincere questions about their relationship. Isabel's father was also present, keeping his distance mais watching. Small progress, but progress quand même. À quoi are you thinking? Isabel asked, discreetly taking her hand. That we started avec a public humiliation, it ended with this. Emma gestured to the building, to the crowd celebrating, to their intertwined lives, that you showed up when I needed you most. That you loved me avant you even really knew me. That we built this ensemble, literally built this. Isabel pointed to the building, smiling. Emma laughed. Always so literal. Always so amoureuse, Isabel corrected, and kissed Emma softly, right there, in public, not caring qui was watching. Because some things were worth being public about. Some things were worth celebrating. And leur amour, built on honesty, vulnerability, et urban butterflies, was definitely one of them. Merci for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, n'oubliez pas to follow our channel and leave down the comments what city you're listening from. And tell me, have you ever had to choose between others' approval and your own happiness? Comment was it? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to know. Claude é uma IA e pode cometer erros. Por favor, verifique as respostas. Sonnet 4.5 Claude é uma IA e pode cometer